This is the correctional officer Q&A section. Yeah. So let me share a slide. Yeah, let me see if I can share this to start with. What shall I do? What shall I do? Yeah. Okay. So Sarah Slay said, what is the topic today, Akhi? It's a question and answer section. I'm going to tackle some issues I've been asked during the week. And also it has to do with a particular mainstream lecturer called Dr. HANI. Somebody sent me a video concerning him, and I have to tackle an issue on that. And apart from that, I'll be answering some couple of questions before I give the chance for question and answers to the viewers at the moment, right? So first things first, I'll be dealing with Dr. Hani. Some of the controversial things he has spoken about, and I just want to clear off the misconception out of the way, right? It is a misconception. So I need to clear off that misconception to give people the chance to have the clear thoughts on such reasoning, right? Because in my country where I come from, there is a saying that if an insect or a bug, if a bug will bite you, then it comes from your own clothing, right? So as it goes, they say "Abwabi bekawa efri untumim." If an insect will bite you, then it's from your own clothing. So many a times, for those who claim we are following the Quran or the so-called Quran alone followers, because there seems to be some problems from coming from the journey of being a sectarian. Some people don't seem to leave those things out. They still carry it forward with them. So it follows them wherever they go. You understand? So instead of rebooting the system and starting afresh, it is always a problem. So I'll be tackling this notion to clear this misconception. By the way, this is my way. I invite to Allah by perception. I and whoever follows me, and glory be to Allah, for I am not among the idolaters. I seek refuge with Allah against the accursed devil. So let me see. I just need to share this on the screen. This is one thing which is very, very for me is very is necessary. It's important. So I can't do away with it. So it is something that I have to talk to the people about, right? So let me put it on the screen. I don't know how clear you see. Yeah, I know you can see it clearly enough, right? So this is my tactic, and this is my mood, and this is my inspiration, and this is how I do my things, right? When I'm dealing with people everywhere I go. Instead of telling someone they are right or wrong, just ask them a series of questions that challenges their belief, so that they are forced to confront the lapses in their own logic through their responses to help them come to their own realizations independently. So this metaphor, this logical assessment, I do it to myself, right? So instead of telling someone, or instead of telling myself that I'm wrong or right, what I do is I just ask myself a series of questions. And when I'm asking myself questions, I stand in the perspective of the questioner. I don't question myself like I know it all. No. And this is why some people find it strange when I'm able to sit here up front, don't know the questions people are going to ask, but I'll be able to answer the questions. These are things I do to myself daily. So it's not like I'm just there and then the answers are in my head. No, I study, right? So what I do is I ask myself this series of questions to challenge my own belief, what I believe in. Can I defend my belief? If I'm pushed to the wall, can I defend myself? Yes, I can. Because that's why I'm a public speaker. I don't want to look stupid. I don't want to look like a person who, when he has been pushed to the wall, he's speechless. He has no idea what he's doing, right? So that challenges my own belief, so that I'm forced to confront the lapses in my own logic, could confront the lapses in my own logic through my own responses. So I try to examine the kind of response I'm giving to the question myself. I examine, does it resonate with the truth? Is it up to standard? This is what I do to myself to help me come to my own realization independently. Remember, Quran chapter 17 verse 36 says, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Indeed, the hearing, the eyesight, and the mind, all those are responsible or will be accountable thereof. So I try to use them wisely, right? I depend on these things, that these faculties God has given me. He didn't give it to me in vain. I use my hearing, my eyesight, my mind. I use it critically. So for those who know my intro to the PDF Quranic translation that I've done, you see me describing myself as a critical thinker and a Quranic researcher, right? A critical thinker is necessary, is needed, especially when it comes to the aspect of faith. You don't have to be a blind follower. So regardless of when you like my lectures or you don't agree with me or you agree with me, you agree with me in certain instances because you have done the thorough, you have done the like critical thinking for it. You have done the examination for it, and that's why you agree. The ones you don't agree with me, it seems it's not clear for you yet. It doesn't mean you think I'm a liar. No, it's just that you haven't gotten to that level yet. So when at the right time, then you see that it's clear for you. You agree. Agreeing to disagree is normal. The moment you don't classify that person as a liar, it means there's room for you to actually improve on your, perspective, on understanding what the person actually intends. Just like academically, we all sit in the classroom, but not necessarily that the teacher has to teach and everybody has to understand. It doesn't go. Does that mean the teacher is lying? The answer is no. But it's just that the student hasn't agreed with the teacher yet. They seem to have some conflict of interest. And I keep telling people, be careful where you take your, understandings from. The perspective and the angles you go searching for knowledge, they can be dangerous as well. So, for example, this issue I'm going to tackle concerning Dr. Hani, it is one of the controversial issues. And in order for me to tackle this issue, I'm 100% certain with what I'm going to handle. So I'm not going to do it with something saying that, oh, I think, or I assume, or I know. I'm going to strike him to the core on this issue, right? Respectfully. That's why I'm called a correctional officer, right? Okay. So this is aside. So I actually put that on the screen to actually let people capture this, put it in the back of your mind, right? It's very, very important when you're dealing with the aspect of faith, right? Don't be quick to tell people you are wrong, you are right, you're wrong, you're right. Or when you see people praying 5 times, don't be quick to tell them this is wrong. No, you have to ask them a series of questions, right? Question everything they think they believe or they are practicing. Question it. Don't be quick to explain yourself. If they tell you, oh, are you trying to say this is wrong? No, I didn't say it's wrong. You're praying 5 times, right? No problem. I want to know, how did you get the 5 prayers? Now you're bringing the person's conscious forward. You remember, we have consciousness and subconsciousness. So you're bringing the person's consciousness in front. Subconsciously, they can be answering you without paying attention, conscious wise. So when you're dealing with people, you see something wrong with what they are doing, don't say, hey, this is wrong. No. And this is why many a times wise people, when they see you doing something wrong, they don't say you are wrong. They tell you, why did you do this? They will ask you, why did you put this here? They want to see you answering, to see if your logic resonates with what you're saying, right? Do you get my point? So especially when it comes to matters of faith, because we have blind followers, and then we have people who are critically assessing things before they follow when it comes to matters of faith, religion. So you are dealing with two parties. The parties who are shippo, who just follow anything they see, so far as it's classified as part of faith. Then we have the part who, if it doesn't resonate with their logic, they will not follow it. So these two parties you're dealing with, don't be quick to even tell any of these parties you're wrong or you're right. You try to ask them a series of questions which challenges their faith. So it will push them to the wall in order for them to see the lapses in their own logic so that they can come to their own realizations independently. So they will be curious. They'll tell you, wow, babashuaib, you're right. So I never, then now they'll be confessing, tell you, wow, I never look at it like this. So do you mean the 5 prayers we've been praying? The hadith is telling us the prophet went to the sky to bring it and it was negotiated. And so this was the 5 prayers? You understand? Now you they will be flabbergasted. They will be confused. They will, like a lot of the people who came across who I met in the past, right? And then thanks to God, now they are back to their senses. So they are following the guidance of God, right? In the past, I'm not the kind of person who tell you are wrong or right. I don't tell you what you're doing is wrong. No, I just try to pull your attention forward, right? I'll pull your attention forward by asking you critical questions concerning what you're doing. So you tell me you're praying 5 times or you're going for Salat al-Jum'ah, I'll just say, you're going for Salat al-Jum'ah? Is it in the Quran? Then the person will be like, yeah, it is. I'm like, are you sure? They're like, yeah. I'm like, okay, that's the Quran. Show me. He will just open, he will read, and then he'll look at me. Ya ayyuhallazina amanu iza nudiya lis-salat min yawmil jum'ah. So then the person will stop and he says, Yawmil Jum'ah. And I said, show me where it says Salat al Jum'ah. Now they are reading again and looking at me. And then the person was like, oh, I never looked at it this way. I'm like, yeah, because you are looking at it from somebody's perspective. You didn't look at it based on the critical abilities that God has given you, your faculties. God says, do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. Chapter 17, verse 36. It is part of the wisdom God has given you, the human being. And He gave you the hearing, the eyesight, and the mind. And you'll be held accountable with this. So you blindly accepted what a scholar used his perspective to tell you, and then affirmatively you put it to yourself, thinking you're practicing Islam. So now, if really, really you believe that Islam belongs to God, why not do what God asked you to do? That do not pursue that of which you have no knowledge. That's what He told you. So do you have knowledge of what we are practicing? So now the person is confused looking at me. He'll be like, okay, babashuaib, tell me, how are we supposed to do? I said, no. Let's not go to how are we supposed to do yet. If you are quick to find answers, you always stumble. This is one lesson in life. That's why academically we go to school, we learn from grades, grade after grade, because the brain, your brain has to be set up in such a way that it is ready to consume, but it has to be like set up in such a position that it's not in a hurry to consume everything. That's why we have a syllable. So you have to be taught grade by grade. So sometimes I will meet people, they will send me a message in the inbox, they will pile up about 10 questions, throw it at me, and I'm asking myself, am I actually now a student trying to answer a teacher, or is the person just looking for answers that it took me years to gain and they are just looking for it within 5 minutes? Is that possible? If that is the case, academically, we don't need to sit in the classroom. Yeah, the teacher has to just send text message to everybody, and then voila, we're graduates. Some people don't know how knowledge works, right? The brain is not built for us to consume information at once. And that's why sometimes you try to tell things to people at once, it doesn't make sense to them. It do not make sense because the brain has not been able to process it and break it into chunks and then pick it up one by one to comprehend. Respect to mathematicians out there. I respect mathematicians a lot, a lot, a lot, right? Yeah. Anyways, thank you all for coming. I appreciate your presence. Salam to you all. Sister Alma Johnson, Nur, Tahir Deli, Fatima Chin, Shohag Mahmood, Abdul Majid Mahama, Ismail Adams, Abu Bakr Abdul Jalil. I see you all. 7 Layers. I see you. The Warner. I'll be coming back to your question later, right? I don't want to deviate. Ozumba, I see you all. Thank you all for coming, right? Okay, so today's issue, we are going to deal with Dr. Hani. Dr. Hani says, when you say Allahumma, you are committing shirk. Right? Thank you very much, Abu Bakr Abdul Jalil. I appreciate the support. Thank you. Dr. Hani says, when you say Allahumma, you are committing shirk. And he says, whoever says Allahumma is an idol worshipper, which means you are invoking multiple gods. This is Dr. Hani's perspective, and I'll be playing a couple of videos from him so that you can hear it from the horse's own mouth, right? And I'm going to strike him down, right? Good. Respectfully, right? Because he hasn't stepped on my toes. But I have to strike him down because he's trying to throw some heebie-jeebies in the people's head. So I have to strike that issue down. And I'll be doing that to a lot of the so-called, Quran alone speakers or scholars or whatever you call. I'll be doing that around, right? But respectfully. So from the horse's own mouth, I'm going to play one of Dr. Hani's video, right? And let's hear what he himself said before I strike him down, right? Let's hear what he said.
Internet superstars, most people who preach Islam today are using these terms exactly in their supplications. So at the end of their speech, their lectures, their presentations, they always say, Subhanak Allahumma wa bihamdik. This is exactly what we saw from Ayah 10:10. And exactly, وَآخِرُ دَعْوَانَا أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. They use da'wana. They use their claim, the word claim, without knowing what it means. It's really a disaster. Not knowing that they are proclaiming multiple deities using the locution of the rejectors, al-ba'udah.
So he's quoting chapter 10, verse 10, Surah to Yunus. That chapter, when you read it into context, it tells you about those who will be entering paradise, right? When you start from verse 9, where he says, Innan lazina amanu wa amilu salihati yadihim rabbuhum bi imanihim, right? And it goes on and tells you what they will say on the day of judgment when they enter paradise, right? That they will tell God, Subhanaka Allahumma. And then they will go on to say, as it goes. Then this Allahumma, according to Dr. Hani, he is saying they are committing shirk, even in Jannah, in paradise. The one saying that they are committing shirk, according to Dr. Hani. So I'll be putting the verse on the screen. Unfortunately, for those on TikTok, you'll not be able to see it. When you rewatch, you see it. I'll put the verse, and then I'll show you where Dr. Hani got this perspective from. He actually borrowed it from an external source. So be careful when you are listening to these mainstream preachers or lecturers or whatever. Be careful. But let's listen.
And they are cursing themselves and cursing all of those who are learning from them. You want more? Watch this. Even after all of this evidence I just presented you, you will see some people still commenting and arguing that Allahumma is acceptable to use in the dua, despite all of the evidence I just presented.
So according to him, if you have watched this full video, because I watched the full video before dealing with this issue, right? If you watch the full video, he's claiming that using Allahumma is wrong and it's an act of shirk. And how did he come by that understanding? He went to the Hebrew language and he went to the Bible, and then he took the notion of Elohim, Elohi and Elohim, and he says since the Hebrew language has him in the plural form, so which means in the Arabic language, since they are sister languages, that means it also means the same thing. So it's multiple deities. So he brought that understanding to the Quran. Do you see how it works? Okay.
Either it will not get through, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will dismiss them from understanding this ayat, or it's pure arrogance, just being used to what they were taught. They're not allowing for even the remote, minutest possibility that some of what they were taught was wrong and bad for them. But as Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala told to the Hawariyun in Surah Al-Ma'idah, قال الله إني منزلها عليكم فمن يكفر بعد منكم فإني أعذبه عذابا لا أعذبه أحدا من العالمين. Remember, this is Al-Ma'idah, the part of the Quran that causes people to sway. So you could be misled by the treachery that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will cause your treachery to mislead you. So therefore, this is Al-Ma'idah, this is Al-Quran, and Al-Quran included the word Allahumma as a description of them, not as a way to teach us to use it to make supplication. So what happens if you commit shirk, if you are using the word Allahumma, which means multiple deity? I know you don't.
So he said, when you use Allahumma, you're committing shirk. And according to his understanding, he says, which means multiple deity, right? So multiple deities, right? So listen to him.
Mean it. I know you don't intend it, but because you didn't do the work, you just parroted that word. You are part of them. You are part of that group. If you follow them, you are like them. You are part of them. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala tells us in Surah An-Nisa, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ. Allah does not grant direct connection to someone who associates with him. Of course, if you want to take partners with Allah, associates with Allah, intermediaries between you and Allah.
So he translates the word Inna Allah la yaghfiru an yushrak bihi. This yaghfiru, forgiveness, he translates as that Allah does not grant direct connection. So it means yaghfir means, according to him, direct correct connection, right? So he says God does not grant direct connection, whilst the literal word is forgive. Remember, the Quran is Kitab Mubin. The Quran is Quran in Mubin. The Quran is Quran al-Hakim. The God's words are precise. Chapter 11, verse 1. Alif Lam Ra. Kitabun uhkimat ayatuhu. Thumma fussilat. Kitabun uhkimat ayatuhu. So the Quran is a book whose verses have been mastered, have been perfected, and then classified, meaning to be explained, elaborated by who? By God, right? Chapter 11, verse 1. So the verses of the Quran has been mastered. The verses of the book has been mastered, have been made precise. Here, Dr. Hani is translating the word yaghfir as does not what? Grant direct connection. Like la yaghfir, and you shirk be if you associate partners with God. So now let's hear what Dr. Hani is saying. Thank you very much, Baba Said.
How would Allah grant you direct connection with him? Because you will not recognize the knowledge is coming from Allah. Allah guards his knowledge, that it comes only from him. He doesn't want his knowledge to be corrupted by other sources.
He says God grants knowledge only from him. That is according to knowledge of the Quran or knowledge of the faith. I agree. His words should have been based in the context, but he took it out of context. And he says he doesn't want you to corrupt his knowledge from other sources. And Dr. Hani just did exactly like that. He went to another source to use the Hebrew scriptures or the Hebrew understanding of Elohim or Elohi and bring that understanding to the Quran by saying Allahumma means multiple gods. That is a corruption. But he failed to look at himself and question himself. Just like when I started, I put the picture and I told you about the logical assessment of someone's faith. Don't tell them they are wrong or right. Do it to yourself as well, right? He failed to do that to himself by looking into the mirror. Okay, so let me play that part again and listen what he said.
Because you will not recognize the knowledge is coming from Allah. Allah guards his knowledge that it comes only from him. He doesn't want his knowledge to be corrupted by other sources.
So God doesn't want his knowledge to be corrupted by other sources, meaning the source of information with the truth has to come from God. Just like God tells us, Al-haqqu min rabbikum faman sha'a falyu'min wa man sha'a falyakfur. Chapter 18, verse 29. And then again, he says to the prophet, Quran chapter 3, verse 60, Quran chapter 2, verse 147, Al-haqqu min rabbika fala takunanna min al-mumtarin. The truth is from your Lord, so do not be of the doubters. Then the interesting part, apart from the truth, when we say knowledge, if you go to Quran chapter 2, verse 255, in what most of the scholars will term as Ayatul Kursiyu, in that verse, it says, وَلَا يُحِيطُونَ بِشَيْءٍ مِّنْ إِلْمِهِ إِلَّا بِمَا شَاءَ. And none can encompass anything from his knowledge except for what he wills, right? So whatever God wills, it's what you get. If you go to Surah Al-Rahman, chapter 55, you start from verse 1 to verse 4. It says, Ar-Rahman, allama al-Quran, khalaqa al-insan, allamahul bayan. Right? So God is the teacher. He will teach you all this as a human being. So God doesn't want the influence of external sources to corrupt his words. He wants you to solely depend on his words to be guided. So many a times you see me quoting Quran chapter 10 verse 82, where God says, وَيُحِقُّ اللَّهُ الْحَقَّ بِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. And God will enforce the truth with his words, even if the criminals dislike it. So Dr. Hani was saying this whilst forgetting himself, and he falls in the trap that we are going to discuss. So let's examine it and see.
So you want the true knowledge, connect only to Allah subhanahu.
So he says, if you want the true knowledge, connect only to God. But there's a contradiction. He was connecting from the Hebrew scriptures. He was taking his knowledge from an external source and bringing it to the Quran. There's a problem. Good. So this is Dr. Hani. The reason why I'm addressing this topic is because he himself failed to look at the mirror by asking himself the same questions he is just speaking about. So this is the problem with knowledge. A lot of people think it's just about what you know. You just say it out there. No, remember, there are a lot of intellectual people watching you. There's a lot of people with high IQ watching you, and they are paying attention to your words, and words are very powerful. But me, correctional officer, I'm not saying I'm perfect, but whatever I'm doing, I'm trying to check my words carefully, and I use my word with a reason. Whenever I use my words, you hold me accountable, I can prove it to you. I can defend myself because I know why I said it. So coming to the point, Dr. Hani says, whoever says Allahumma, you are a mushrik and you are committing an idol worship. And what is the reason? He just made a reference from the Hebrew scriptures and the Hebrew language. And he says, because Elohim is a plural of deities. So when you bring it to the Quran, it is the same formula and it means the same thing. Really? Really? So we are going to put him to the test and see that his argument is flawed. Totally. Messed up argument. Flawed. The next video.
He taught him, say Allahumma. This is the people who say Allahumma. This is the people who say.
Now, I only cut this part short because I wanted you to see the context on the side he was explaining this part. When you open chapter 39, verse 45, it talks about وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ اللَّهُ وَحْدَهُ أَشْمَأَزَّتْ قُلُوبُ الَّذِينَ لَا يُؤْمِنُونَ بِالْآخِرَةِ وَإِذَا ذُكِرَ الَّذِينَ مِن دُونِهِ إِذَا هُمْ يَسْتَبْشِرُونَ. Then he goes beyond. Verse 46. قل اللهم فاطر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة أنت تحكم بين عبادك فيما كانوا فيه يختلفون. So he quoted this verse and then listen to how he was translating the verse 36, the verse 46, which is addressing to the messenger, and the messenger has been asked to say kul. Right? He is being asked kul. So he's going to explain. Okay, so see.
Hey, Allahumma. Remind yourself, Allahumma, Allahumma. Allahumma means multiples. Yes, because they are happy when the ones they took as intermediaries, plural, are mentioned. They are most happy if they hear someone talking about intermediaries between Allah and themselves. These people are following the concept of Allahumma, the plural deities, the plural intermediaries. That's what Allahumma clearly means in here.
So he's quoting chapter 39, verse 46, where God is asking the messenger, kul, to say. So kulillahumma, to say Allahumma. So Dr. Hani overlooks that and says that God only brought the Allahumma in front of the kuli to remind the messenger that, remember, those who are saying the multiple deities, remember. So we don't see the word remember there. And we don't see where God says, I told you. Remember, Allahumma, it means the multiple deities. He brought an external understanding from the Bible and inserting it into the Quran to say Allahumma means Elohim.
Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala continues teaching our beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam what to say in addition to Allahumma. First, remember Allahumma. Second, this is the rest of the dua. This is a true dua. فاطر السماوات والأرض عالم الغيب والشهادة. So it starts from here.
So according to Dr. Hani, if you are going to do that dua in that verse, chapter 39, verse 46, according to Dr. Hani, so the Quran was a mistake by putting Allahumma in front of that dua. So according to him, you have to take that Allahumma away. And then you start doing Fatir is-samawati wal-ard. So you just start by saying Fatir is-samawati wal-ard. Do you see the logic of Dr. Hani? Okay.
So there is an exclamation mark after Allahumma. Of course, the Quran is not revealed with any exclamation marks or any punctuation marks, or for that matter, any diacritical marks.
Now, this is the assumption of many people, thinking that the Quran was revealed without tashkil, without punctuation mark, without this, without that. This is the assumption of people. Is that what God told you? Were you there when God revealed the Quran to the Prophet? Were you there when it was first written by the Prophet? Quran chapter 25, verse 5, when the disbelievers at his time even bore witness that he wrote the verses. Were you there? So who told you those things were not there? Well, these are people who are taking still external sources.
So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is teaching our beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam to remind himself of those who use Allahumma. Remember,
he said God is teaching the messenger to remind himself of those who are using Allahumma. So meaning the Prophet shouldn't use Allahumma. Meaning the Quran made a mistake by saying Kulillahumma. That say Allahumma. Okay.
when we talked about Adam, we saw in Surah Al-Baqarah that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala taught Adam all the labels. وَعَلَّمَ آدَمَ الْأَسْمَاءَ كُلَّهَا in ayah 231 from Surah Al-Baqarah. Go back to that segment and you will see exactly what we said about teaching Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam all of the locution of those from Al-Ba'udah. So this is referring to those from Al-Ba'udah. So it's reminding our beloved sallallahu alaihi wasallam who uses the word Allahumma. And then he continues.
I will be showing you verses where Isa alayhi salam used Allahumma. And also the prophet himself used Allahumma. And the people in paradise, the Jannah, will be using Allahumma. So I don't know, whilst Dr. Hani was doing this video, was he on drugs? Was he drunk? Or what was wrong with him? I have no idea, but we are going to find out.
To make a dua to the opposite. O exposer of the layers of understanding and scripture, فاطر السماوات والأرض, عالم الغيب والشهادة, provider of evidence for the undisclosed and the disclosed, you only provide the linguistic discernment. So there's a hint, a direct hint. Look, don't take this for granted. Don't think you understand what you just read.
Dr. Hani says, don't take it for granted. Don't think you just understand what it just said. So he said, don't think you just understand. But here, Dr. Hani understands, and he's going to put his own meaning. You see how he translates the word tahakum. Tahakum meaning to judge, right? To decide something, to judge, to make a decision. So now he is saying, according to Dr. Hani's translation, he says you only, and he added his own word, only. You only provide a linguistic discernment. According to him, tahkum, that is the word hukum, it means linguistic discernment. Okay?
Anta tahkumu, you provide the linguistic discernment. So we have to remember how Allah is using that word. Allah is using that word not to teach us to use it, but to teach us, to warn us against those who use such erroneous locution. We will see a lot more detail. This is just the beginning. This is just the tip of the iceberg. So please be patient and continue, inshallah. And you will be amazed and shocked at the same time. So hopefully this will be.
Yes, Dr. Hani, we are amazed and shocked at your waffling and confusion and whatever. That's what we are shocked about. There's nothing you will say for us to be shocked over in the Quran itself. No, not me, babashuaib. Nothing of you can shock me, but I'll be shocked about how your understanding works.
Very useful for all of you. You only provide the linguistic discernment, distinguishing your wayfarers in accordance with the positions they took when they disagreed. So
a lot of the things he's translating are not found in the text, in the Arabic text. I don't know where he's getting his translation from. And this is why many a times I try to push people to the wall when they speak about the Quran on their public lectures. I'll try to know which source of translation or which text they are using to speak. This is very, very important. For all the so-called lecturers or the online people you're watching online who are speaking on the Quran, please, ladies and gentlemen, try to ask them which source of translations they are using, right? Please ask them. When you watch them, ask them, whoever you are watching, Dr. Ani, Al-Moses, you mention them. Anyone you're watching who is talking on the Quran, ask them which source of translation or which translation of the Quran, which version are you using? That will bring clarity to you, the audience, because then you know which people are playing with words and where they are getting this kind of confusions from, right? So this is just the tip of the iceberg. Please ask them, right? You are not shippo, right? You follow, and you see whenever I'm lecturing you where I put the Quran on the board. If there's any cause for alarm, I show you where the word is coming from, how it is arranged, the source, the roots. I do show you on the screen, and you know the Quran I use. I put the own translation that I've done. It is there, right? Okay.
therefore, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is warning us that there is disagreement, and Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is reminding us, follow al-hukm from Allah. And remember, Allah knows all that was hidden, al-ghaib. So these things were hidden from you, but the Quran is revealing them to you. So all of this collection of meanings right here are giving us already an indication that there is something going on. So it's not
God in those verses, God never said he hid anything. He didn't say anything was hidden and the Quran revealed it. Remember, the Quran came to do the confirmation of what was before it. So what is it that was hidden and now the Quran is bringing it out? I don't understand. What? The Quran came to do a confirmation of what was before it. So meaning, Prophet Muhammad didn't bring anything new. Everything he is bringing It's already in the past. However, he just gathered them in one place and telling you that is just the difference. But so what is it actually Dr. Hani is trying to say, that everything was hidden and now the Quran is coming to bring it out? I don't understand. Okay.
Not just obvious, it's not part of the normal dua. So right away, we already know that الَّذِينَ مِن دُونِهِ, which is a plural intermediaries, are referred to by the word Allahumma. As
So now do you see his understanding? He says now we know that in verse 45 he says Allazina min dunihi, that is referring to the Allahumma as multiple deities. This is Dr. Hani speaking, right?
we saw from the Hebrew sources themselves. Well,
Did you see what he said at the end of that statement? Did you hear what he said at the end of the statement? Listen what he said.
to by the word Allahumma, as we saw from the Hebrew sources themselves.
So he went to the Hebrew sources. For those who have watched this full video that he had concerning Allahumma, the full video, he went to the Hebrew sources to go and pick up these understandings and bring it to the Quran. So by this, he carried a preconceived notion here and then brought the idea into the Quran by contradicting himself that the truth and the knowledge only has to come from God. So if the Quran was here to reveal things which are already hidden, how did you go to the Hebrew scriptures to go and bring a knowledge and insert it into the Quran alone? Again, when you said the Quran is coming to reveal things which are hidden, and then you went to the Hebrew scriptures to go and bring something there and bring it and put it and concoct it and put it inside the Quran again. So what did the Quran reveal to you, Dr. Hani? This goes to the viewers, the listeners, the discerning listeners. Pay attention to this kind of people. They are there to play with your conscience. Don't just think because you said you've done with the hadith, so you think that the job is done. You have a big hurdle in front of you to climb. You'll be dealing with this kind of people. I'm serious. A lot of them will be on social media. Be careful. Okay, so now let's strike him down. Let's strike Dr. Hani down, right? Okay, I'm going to put the verses on the screen and then we take it one by one. So we are going to use Isa alayhi salam, Jesus. We are going to Jesus and then we are going to see how Jesus supplicated, right? How he called on God, right? So we go to Quran chapter 5, verse 114. So I'll put the verse on the screen and let's see what the verse says, right? Chapter 5, verse 114. Yep. So here it says, Qala Isa ibn Maryama. Then he says, Allahumma. Now, what I want you to understand is God, Allah, is not like a human being. Neither is he a jinn, neither is he an angel, neither is he a creation. He is the creator, not the creation. So that is why in Quran chapter 112, he says, Walam yakul lahu kufuwan ahad. He was neither begotten, nor does he beget. And he has no one can be compared to him, nor there is none equal to him. So what you need to understand is, when you are calling each other throughout the Quran, you will never see an instance where any prophet or any messenger or any honorable entity calling on God and saying, Ya Allah. You don't call God like that. He's not your classmate. Neither is he your co-equal. So we call on God and we say Allahumma. This ma. If you like, take the ma. If you, whoever is watching the screen right now, you see the way I highlighted the Allahu. Check the initials of how you write Allah. Alif, lam, and the ha. So Allah. So the ma at the end, it has a shadda. It has been strengthened. Shadda. So it is not like this saying alayhim, alayhum. No, it's different. So this who, Allahu, then the ma is signifying, oh God. It is not like saying that plural of deities. That is what is wrong with Dr. Hani's logic? When we say plural of deities in the Quran, it's clear. It's written as day and night. You see alihatan When we say alihatan, it means multiple deities. Ilahain, meaning two deities. So if it is using that formality, then you can see people are invoking on what. If you don't understand something by the Quran, don't talk about it. Don't go and bring garbage books from any other sources and come and twist the truth. That's why Quran chapter 10 verse 82 says, God says, وَيُحِقُّ اللَّهُ الْحَقَّ بِكَلِمَاتِهِ وَلَوْ كَرِهَ الْمُجْرِمُونَ. God will enforce the truth with his words, even if the criminals dislike it. And it's obvious Dr. Hani is a criminal by what he's doing. And I'm going to show you. So Quran chapter 5 verse 114, Isa alayhi salam was making a supplication. So what does that mean? Isa alayhi salam was a mushrik? Was he an idol worshipper? Ask Dr. Hani this question. So you think Dr. Hani was okay when he was speaking about this issue? I don't think so. قال عيسى بن مريم اللهم ربنا أنزل علينا مائدة. Then he says من السماء تكون لنا عيدا, in order to serve as a Eid feast. Then he says عيدا لأولنا وآخرنا وآية منك. Then he says what? وَأَرْزُقْنَا وَأَنْتَ خَيْرُ الرَّازِقِينَ. The verse says, Jesus, the son of Mary, said, "Oh God." So, Allahumma is denoting a sign of respect to God. Right? So you say, "Oh God." So we are going to check the context of the verse and the grammatical aspect. Are we speaking to plural deities, or we are speaking to one deity in the Quran? So let's check. This is Isa alayhi salam making a supplication. So then Isa says, "Oh God, our Lord." Then he says what? You see the Rabb is in singular form. Allah is there. The ma is signifying, it's just like saying Ya Shu'aib, Ya Zakaria, Ya Ibrahim, Ya Muhammad, Ya Yuwan Nabi, Ya Yuwan Rasul. So the Ya, you use it for human beings and entities, which are creations. You don't use it for God. Right? You will never find a single instance in the Quran where anyone invoke on God and say, Ya Allah. No, it's a disrespect to do that. Right? So you rather use Allahumma. Remember, Quran chapter 4, verse 26. God desires to clarify for you and by the examples of those before you, so that he can guide you by them. So he uses the prophets and the messengers to guide us, because we have to follow their footsteps. Right? So if they don't even call God Ya Allah, who are you to say Ya Allah? So then the Allahumma is there for you and I to follow as an example. So this is Isa calling on God. And he says, "Oh God, our Lord." Then he says what? Send down a dining. That is ma'idatan, is a dining, or you can say dining table. So a dining where you can have it on the table. Dining to us from the sky to be a feast. That is the concept of Eid. Eden, lana, for us. Then he says what? For the first of us and the last of us. So this is Isa invoking God for that aspect. Right? Then he says, and as a sign from you. So minka. This minka is a second person pronoun, speaking to God in a singular form. We are not speaking to multiple deities. It is out of the ignorance of Dr. Hani, thinking that he has found knowledge by going to the Hebrew scriptures, and he thinks that is the source of knowledge. So then God says, "So provide for us, for you are the best of providers." So not the anta here used is signify a singular, persona. So this persona here used is second person pronoun. Anta signifying singular. You, God. You are the best of providers. So was Isa doing a shirk according to Dr. Hani? Does logic resonate with this according to what Dr. Hani is saying? Are you not the one rather bringing corruption to the words of God, Dr. Hani? Okay, this is just the first example. We go to the next verse. The next verse is found in Quran chapter 3, verse 26, right? In Quran chapter 3, verse 26, we are going to check it up to verse 27. And let's see what God says. Now, God is instructing the messenger to say this dua. This dua you are seeing here. He's instructing the messenger, alayhi salam, to say the dua. So he says, Qul Allahumma malik al-mulki, tu'ti al-mulka man tashaw, wa tanzi'u al-mulka mimman tashaw. Then he says what? Wa tu'izzu man tashaw, wa tu'zillu man tashaw. Biyadika al-khair, innaka ala kulli shay'in qadir. So we can stop at verse 26, right? It is enough for us to see what I want us to see. So God asked the messenger, say, Oh God, Allahumma. So now here, you see, Kulillahumma. Kulillahumma. So it's not talking about multiple deities. It's talking about one deity, Allah, and then ma is to signify a sign of respect by calling on God like, oh God. So now, Kulillahumma, then it says Malikul Mulk. So what is it saying? Possessor of the dominion. When we say Malik, it means to possess something. Just like if you read chapter 1. In chapter 1, it says Maliki Yawmiddin. It means the owner or the possessor, right? So the right meaning is possessor of the dominion. So Malik means someone who possesses something. Then Al-Mulk means the dominion or the kingdom. You can say kingdom or dominion, but for God, it's a dominion, right? So now, possessor of the dominion, then it says, you give tuti, you give sovereignty, that is the mulka, the kingdom, you grant it to whomever you will, and you take sovereignty away from whomever you will, and you honor whomever you will, and you humiliate whomever you will. In your hand, yadika, biyadika, biyadika. So this ka is signifying a second person pronoun, meaning talking to God alone. You are not talking to any multiple deities. You'll be a fool to agree with Dr. Hani that thinking that when you say Allahumma, you are invoking multiple deities. It means you are mentally kaput in the head, not to understand a grammatical instance of a verse. Check the structure. Do you see any notion of plurality there? So now, he says, in your hand is the good. Indeed, you, innaka, again, second person pronoun, signifying one entity. So we are talking to God and it says, indeed, you are capable of all things. This is simple as ABCD. And you let this man sit in front of you on social media and just mess up your brain. Just like that. Okay. The next evidence, I take you to Quran chapter 39, verse 46. The same chapter he was messing up, right? He went to the verse and he was messing up that issue. So I put it on the screen. This is the verse. God again telling the messenger. He says, Kulillahumma fatiris samawati wal ard. Then he says, Alimul ghaibi wa shahadata anta tahkumu bayna ibadika fima kanu fihi yakhtalifun. Say, oh God, Allahumma signifying calling God with respect. Just take the ma out. What is left is Allahu. It is the name of God. The ma at the end is signifying, just like you're calling each other, you say Ya Shu'aib. Ya Shu'aib. You cannot say Shu'aibuhumma. No. But when it comes to God, you're invoking God because he has no equals. So the way you have to even address God doesn't have to be equal with any entity in this universe. Do you get my point? So, oh God, originator of the heavens and the earth. He's the one who originated the earth. No one else can create the earth, right? So he is the originator. So originator of the heavens and the earth, knower of the unseen and testimony. Then he says, Anta. It means you, God. One, singular, you. Singular pronoun. So Anta means you, God. A fool will think you're talking to multiple gods. You will judge between your servants concerning what they used to dispute about or they used to disagree. So you, God, you will judge between your servants. He knows his servants. So it's a singular pronoun. We are talking to one God, not multiple gods. Don't go and take Elohim and think it is the same as Allahumma. You are a fool to think that way, right? Quran is here and it's mubin. It's simple, it's clear, it's to give you clarity. Quran is not here to confuse you. You will only be confused when you are confused by yourself. That's when you think Quran will be confusing you. And that is why you don't rush with the Quran. The Prophet was told the same. Do not rush with your tongue with it. Do not hasten. You have to relax. Every understanding of the verse from the Quran goes with an inspiration. You'll be inspired. You understand it at the right time. Don't rush if you don't understand a concept in the Quran. Relax. Keep studying. It will be clear for you when you are reading other chapters. Don't rush. Rome was not built in a day. So don't think when you grab the Quran, you want to understand every topic just like this. Right? Calm down and study. Simple. So God says in Quran chapter 39, verse 46, He's telling the messenger to say, it is not making any reference about any people making idol worship. Why will God now tell the messenger, repeat the same word He asked you to say? He will say, Kul, O God, originator of the heavens and the earth. And you, Dr. Hani, you are sitting somewhere after eating your chicken, fried rice and chicken, your belly is full. You come on social media to say these stupid things. No wonder such people don't want to come out for confrontation, like somebody to face them and question them. They don't bring themselves up. I don't know why. Right? Right. So anybody who is watching, you can share it to Dr. Hani. Tell him if he's man enough, let's sit one-on-one and have a discussion on such an issue. And then we show him the lapses in his understanding for him to see that he is borrowing words from another sources, which has nothing to do with the Quran at all. Yeah. So now, the last verse is chapter 10, verse 10. So with chapter 10, verse 10, we are going to start from, we are going to start from verse 9, right? Chapter 10, verse 10. Oh, sorry. Let me do this. Yeah, we are going to start from verse 9. Oh, what did I do? Yeah. Chapter 10, we start from verse 9, right? So it says, إِنَّ الَّذِينَ آمَنُوا وَعَمِلُوا الصَّالِحَاتِ يَهْدِيهِمْ رَبُّهُمْ بِإِيمَانِهِمْ. Then he says what? Yeah. Then God says, تَجْرِي مِنْ تَحْتِهَا الْأَنْهَارُ فِي جَنَّةٍ نَعِيمٍ. So God says, indeed, those who believe and do good deeds, their Lord will guide them with their faith. Then he says, rivers will flow beneath them in the gardens of bliss. So the context is talking about the paradise. Then it continues. Their invocation, dawahum fiha, it's talking about the Jannah. Remember in verse 9, it mentions the word Jannati. Jannati means the gardens, right? In the plural form, Jannati. Jannati, without the alif madda, is one garden. Jannati means gardens. And these gardens, God always used a feminine pronoun to attribute to a female noun, right? Whenever a masculine noun is mentioned, God will use a masculine pronoun to represent the masculine noun. Whenever a female noun is mentioned, God will use a female pronoun to address to that issue. So now, when you check the context of verse 10, then it says, Dawahum fiha. These believers that who do good deeds and God guide them with their faith, and then God will admit them in the gardens. God is saying their invocation in the garden is what? Subhanaka Allahumma. So does that mean in the paradise they are doing shirk when they use Allahumma? According to Dr. Hani, I don't know if Dr. Hani smokes Igbo or what was wrong with him when he was doing the video, for God's sake. Seriously? So, Subhanaka Allahumma, and that is why I put the red to highlight the word Allah. That is the name of God. The ma at the end is like saying, oh God. It's a sign of respect. That's what it means. It doesn't mean multiple gods. Oh my God. So are you saying people in paradise are worshiping multiple gods now, Dr. Hani? Is it just because nobody actually sat you down to scrutinize your logic? Seriously. Mohammed, I can see you laughing. So Allahumma here, the people in the paradise are actually invoking God and saying, Subhanaka. That is, glory be to you. This ka, you can see a masculine pronoun at the end of the Subhana ka. It's singular. So logically, it means Dr. Hani is flawed by logic, number one. Then I don't know if we have to open his brain to check why he is actually saying Allahumma means multiple, but I already know the reason. He went to the Hebrew scriptures and he says because of Elohim. So Allahumma, then he says, وَالتَّيِّهَاتُهُمْ فِيهَا, and they are greeting. The greeting the believers will be doing in the garden is what? They will say salam. Just like on earth, we say salam to each other. You say peace. It doesn't necessarily mean you have to use Arabic to say salam to somebody. You can use any language. You can use shalom if you are a Hebrew speaking person. Just say shalom. It's the same thing. Remember, among the signs of God is a diversity in our languages and our colors, right? So you do no wrong when you reciprocate the same word in another language. You can use peace in English. You can say shalom in Hebrew. You can say salam in Arabic. There's nothing wrong, right? So believers use that among each other. Then it says, while the end of their what? Invocation, wa akhir dawahum. Then it says, Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen. So even if believers, we are saying Subhanaka Allahumma, since we are on earth, the Allahumma we are allowed to use. And then we are allowed to say salam to each other even on earth. What makes you think I cannot say Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen at the end of my dua with God? You understand? So here, God says, وَآخِرْ دَعْوَاهُمْ أَنِ الْحَمْدُ لِلَّهِ رَبِّ الْعَالَمِينَ. So the end of their invocation is what? Praise be to Allah, Lord of the worlds. Right? So there is no sign of shirk. There is no sign of multiple gods in whatever verses we have checked concerning Allahumma. It will take somebody who is flawed logically to actually have that perception. And Dr. Hani actually contradicted himself. And he says you should allow God and you shouldn't let external sources or other sources confuse you or whatever. But he is using that methodology against himself. And that's why I say for a logical assessment of someone's faith, do not tell them they are wrong or right. Just ask them a series of questions which challenges their belief in order for them to see the lapses in their own logic so that they can come to their own realizations independently. And that is what we just did to Dr. Hani. If he's listening, I know he will listen someday, right? Okay. Yeah. So now we are done with Dr. Hani. The second question we are going to move on to is, sorry, let me read some comments, right? What have I missed? I see bandwidth, it says peace, salam. Safiya Stusi, I see you, salam. Nazir NSC, I see you. Yeah, bandwidth it. Yeah, he should get some Arabic. Yeah, Dr. Hani needs an Arabic lesson. Emily Trinity, salam. I see you. Abdul Quddus, I see you. Salam. Muhammad Salman. Right. If you don't write proper, if you don't write something sensible, your comment doesn't need to be on my page, right? So write things that people can benefit. Yeah. So if you say I'm being hasty, I've watched a person's video, full video, over full video, over 1 hour, and then you are telling me I'm being hasty. I'm dealing with all logic and diligence. I don't need to watch. Look, if somebody comes to you and say, I am God, he used the word, I am God. I don't need the context of your statement again. I've already gotten the context because you've already used the word, I am God. What will make you use the word, I am God? So first of all, it seems you are kaput in the head when you use the word, I am God. I don't need to even check your background. It means you are a bozo to even utter such a statement. So there are certain statements you don't even need to watch 1,000 hours of a person's lecture before you get to know what they are saying. Just watch 30 minutes is enough, right? And every statement you make, we have context. I just need the context. I just need your subject of discussion, and I need your context of your statement. That is enough to crush you, right? So since it means you are a loyal servant of Dr. Hani, kindly forward my video to him and tell him with all diligence and respectfully, tell him babashuaib wants to have a discussion with him. Let's have a dialogue. Let's have a discussion on just Allahumma, so that I can show him his lapses. Simple. Salam Zamani Badiu. Salam YSG. Salam Sayyidinu Bra Nagaka. Salam Ismail Suleiman. Bilal Jibril. Liman Imran, I see you. Usman Damfodio. Dana Neobrona. Yeah, thank you for coming. Thank you all. Thank you all for coming. Yeah. So for those on TikTok, 7 layers is kaput. Yes, his brain is kaput. Yes, it's true. He is confused. It's not a joke. He is confused, right? Yeah. Yeah. So for those who are listening to Dr. Hani, be careful, right? He's playing with the wrong weapon. It's just like an inexperienced driver given a car to drive alone. You know what can happen, right? And this driver is not only causing danger to himself, right? Yeah, so somebody is asking a question. Are you willing to use your methodology to examine Al-Moses and his recent claims and his oversight about the verse we discussed? Yes, I'm going to tackle Al-Moses concerning the LGBT claim he made. I'll be doing that. I don't know if I can do it today, but I'll be tackling that. Right? I'll be doing the program on that. Tackling, like I said, I'll be tackling all these Quranic speakers who like make mess up of people's brain out there. The Quran is Kitabun Mubin. Quran chapter 8, chapter 16, verse 89. God told the Prophet, وَنَزَّلْنَا عَلَيْكَ الْكِتَابَ تِبِيَانًا لِكُلِّ شَيْءٍ. We have revealed the book to you as a clarification. The word tibiyan, it comes from the word bayana. That is the root word, bayana. So tibiyan is a noun, which is a clarification, elucidation, exposition, expounding, giving you clarity. So the book is to serve as a clarification for all things. Then inside the book, we have what we call Al-Quran. The Quran is to give you the tafsil of the kitab. So God is asking us in Quran chapter 6, verse 114, where he says, أَفَغَيْرِ اللَّهِ أَبْتَغِي حَكَمًا وَهُوَ الَّذِي أَنزَلَ إِلَيْكُمُ الْكِتَابَ مُفَصَّلًا. Who did the tafsil of the kitab? The Quran. Quran chapter 10, verse 37. وما كان هذا القرآن أن يفترى من دون الله ولكن تصديق الذي بين يديه وتفصيل الكتاب لا ريب فيه من رب العالمين. So the tafsil of the kitab has been done by the Quran. And where do we find the Quran? You go in the Al-Kitab, you find the Quran. So the Quran itself was telling the Prophet, لا تحرك به لسانك لتعجل به إن علينا جمعه وقرآنه فإذا قرأناه فاتبع قرآن ثم إن علينا بيانه. So now what the Quran is here to do is to give you clarity over the Al-Kitab, and the Quran itself is being given the clarification by God. So that is why God claims the responsibility and says, Ar-Rahman allama al-Quran. So if you need knowledge, humble yourself. He says, Wattaqullah wa yu'allimukumullah. So when you have the fear of God, then God can teach you. He is the teacher of the Quran. Simple. So that is why, babashuaib, when I make lectures, I make the verses speak for themselves. It's not me trying to concoct any new understanding, putting my point of view, going through my, confused understanding. No. And this is what a lot of the mainstream speakers do. They are confused. No, I'm serious. Now, it's been a while. It's been a minute. You see me not touching on the mainstream speakers on the Quran. There's a reason why I give room for that, and I don't tackle on them, because Look, there's a bigger enemy out there to deal with, right? But it goes to a point that if I don't pause on the bigger enemy and deal with the enemy within, there will be another problem. So I'm not saying those within are all enemies, but there's six misconceptions they are creating, and it causes division among believers, and that is a problem, right? And God says if you have to stand for God as and with justice when you are serving as a witnesses, even if it's against yourself or your relative, you have to be honest with that. Quran chapter 4 verse 58 says we should judge between the people with justice. So I'm being just. The same way I'll strike a mushrik, if a believer messes up, I have to strike them the same way. Seriously. Okay. So I'm going to the next question. And then somebody's asking, he says, what is your view on Quran centric? For Quran centric followers, I think there is somehow a confusion. For Quran centric, some of them do accept hadith, right? Yeah. For instance, I see them as hypocrites. And this is my honest opinion, right? I tell you for a fact. When somebody classify himself as Quran centric, meaning they do accept other external sources, but then Quran is their main focus. To some extent, in some issues, I might agree with them in some issues. But to say you overlook the Quran and go for hadith, and you can accept a logic from the hadith, like just Dr. Hani is that kind of person. He accepts hadith, right? And then we have some of the few people out there who do take, guidance from hadith as well, and they use it for themselves, and they call themselves Quran centric. I see hypocrisy in the logic they put, right? But I'll be tackling that issue not for now. Yeah, Dana, Nebrona, yes. Arabic and Hebrew are Semitic languages like cousins. Yes, they are. But a lot of words are different. They are not the same. They have, it's just like me and my brother. We have brothers. Or me and my cousins. We are cousins. But it doesn't mean we are the same. There could be somehow some similarities, but we are not the same, right? Sariki Martin, yeah, good evening. You're welcome. Thank you very much, Baba said. Okay, let me move on with the next question before I get stalled here. The second question is, life and death of a believer and a disbeliever, are they the same? Somebody is saying that believers, when they die, they will go to the same place disbelievers go. And then somebody is saying believers and the disbelievers, they have the same type of death, meaning the death is very, very hot, like it's a struggling feat to face. Is it true? And if believers die, where do they go? And if disbelievers die, where did they go? I'm going to give the answer from the Quran. So first of all, I take you to Quran chapter 23, verse 99, so that you see where disbelievers die, when they die, where they go, right? I think I've tackled this issue before, but I just want to elaborate some another aspect of it so that people will have the clarity from this. So I was asked this question, and then they said, when a disbeliever dies, where do they go? So when you go to Quran chapter 23, verse 99, right? Chapter 23, verse 99, it says what? Hatta iza ja'a ahadahum al-maut qala rabbi irji'uni. So he says, until when death comes to one of them, he says, Lord, send me back, right? So this is a transgressor, right? So then verse 100, he says that I may act righteous in what I have left. Nay, indeed, it is a word he is stating, but behind them is a partition until the day they are resurrected. So, meaning the soul of this transgressor will be separated from the earth. So he cannot partake in whatever is going on in this earth. So what is the separation between him, his soul, and the world is what we call barzakh. This barzakh is not a place. The mushriks will tell you barzakh is a place you go. It's not a place. The partition between you and the earth is what we call barzakh, because the soul has been taken away from the body. The body has been left on earth. The soul has been taken away. So there's a barzakh in between. So this barzakh is a partition between you and the right and the world. So I'm going to give you this example. Let me see here. This word has been used in a similar instance in Quran chapter, uh, yeah, in this chapter, chapter 25, verse 53, right? In Quran chapter 55, verse, Quran chapter 25, verse 53, and he is the one who has clotted the two seas. You see the two seas you see on earth, the two seas. We have the salty water and then we have the non-salty one, right? And he is the one who has clotted the two seas. There is sweet water, asbun furat. When you say furat, the sweet water. Then he has, and there is salty, milhu. This milhu, and then what? Ujaj. This ujaj is something which is salty and bitter. So we have one water which is furat. We have a sweet water. Then we have another one which is what? Milhu and ujaj. Now God says, and has placed between them a what? Barzakhan. You see? So God placed between these two seas barzakh. So barzakh is not a place. As the mushriks keep telling you that when somebody dies, they take him to a place called barzakh. It's a lie. You'll be a fool to think a barzakh after the Quran making it clear that it is a place. It's not a place. It's a partition that has been separated between you and the world, right? So that is barzakh. And again, the barzakh has been used in Quran chapter 59, verse 19 to verse 20. Quran chapter 55, verse 19 to verse 20. That is Surah Ar-Rahman, right? You see it there. So now we go back to where we are. So in Quran chapter 23, verse 100, God says that I may act righteous in what I have left. So this transgressor will now be pleading with God in order to send his soul back to the world. Then God says, nay, indeed, it is a word he is stating, but behind them, this kind of transgressors, behind them is a partition. So behind this person, in order for him not to be able to come back to the world, God has put the barzakh, like a dome. Like for people who have watched the movie called Under the Dome. Under the dome, nobody is going out and nobody is coming in, right? So behind such people is a what? A barzakhun, a partition, until the day they are resurrected. So the person's soul will be away from the earth until the time they will be resurrected. So somebody will say, hey, this person died. I saw the ghost. According to God, where is the ghost? The ghost has been separated. Your soul has been separated away. Where is the ghost coming? It's just genes you are seeing. The genes are taking other forms, making you think you are seeing ghost. There is no ghost. There is no word ghost in the Quran. It doesn't exist. Whatever God has created, he is telling you in the Quran. If you go to Quran chapter 27, Quran chapter 27, verse 76, God says what? Quran chapter 27, do I remember the verse? Yeah. Quran chapter 27, verse 75. God says, وَمَا مِنْ غَائِبَةً فِي السَّمَاءِ وَالْأَرْضِ إِلَّا فِي كِتَابٍ مُبِينٍ. So God says, and there is nothing invisible. When we say ga'ibatan, it can be something which is hidden or it can be something which is invisible to the eyes, right? In the heaven and the earth, except in a clear register. So if it is there, God will have told you there is something called ghost. Whatever God created, he created the jinn, he created angels, he created human beings, he created creatures, animals, whatever. He told you about them in the Quran. So you think there's a ghost God created and he never told you? Right? So now we are going to compare the death of a believer and the disbeliever. Are they the same? Are they going to be the same? Let's hear what God has to say. So I take you to Quran chapter 45, verse 21. In Quran chapter 25, Quran chapter 45, verse 21, God says, Am hasibal lazina ajitarahu sayyiati an naja'alahum kallazina amanu wa amilu salihat sawa'an mahyahum wa mamatuhum sa'a ma yakumun. So God says, or do those who commit bad deeds think that we will render them like those who believe and do good deeds, their life and their death to be equal, to be the same? That is the question God is asking. Do those who commit bad deeds think that we will render them, we will make them like those who believe and do good deeds, their life and their death to be equal? Then God says evil is what they decide. So whatever decision you are thinking that the believer is going to face the same death as the disbeliever is not true. If you think they are going to go to the same destination, according to the mushriks, they claim every believer and disbeliever, when they die, they go to a place called Barzakh. Well, you are lying, bozos. Quran never says there's a place called Barzakh. It's actually the partition, which is called Barzakh. And again, the disbeliever doesn't face the same fate as the believer. They are not the same. It's just like a worker who is working and he earns salary, and the ones who is not working, how can he earn salary? Do you see the difference? It's a big difference. So how can you say they have the same faith? How? Okay. So God says they are not the same. The death of a believer is not going to be the same as the disbeliever. Because the mushriks keep telling you, oh, the death is so painful. And he says when the prophet was there, he says, yeah, ummati, ummati, my ummah, my ummah. That's how they lie to you, always. Right? So now, where do believers go when they die? Where do they go? Whether they are killed, whether they die, where do they go? So when you go to Quran chapter 2, verse 154, in chapter 2, verse 154, let's see where believers go. God says, and do not say about those who are killed in the way of God that they are dead. Do not say they are dead. In fact, they are alive. Right? But you do not perceive, because what you see is the person has been killed on earth. So the soul has gone out of the body. According to God, the soul is alive, but you do not perceive because you don't see the soul. So you think they are dead, they are gone. According to God, they are alive. Do you see the point? And again, I take you to Quran chapter 3, verse 169. Oh, sorry, I've missed this. Chapter 3, verse 169, right? Oh, sorry, I just read chapter 2, verse 154. I wasn't sharing the screen, I forgot. Chapter 2, verse 154 says, and do not say about those who are killed in the way of what? God, that they are what? Dead. In fact, they are alive, but you do not perceive. Then we go to 3, verse 169. It says, and do not think those who are killed in the way of God are dead. In fact, they are alive at their Lord. That is what being provided for or living. You say, yeah, yurzakun. So they are alive. They are not dead. It is only the physical body which you only see that is dead, but the person itself is not dead. It's still alive, right? So then again, the last one is we go to Quran chapter 3, verse 159. Chapter 3, verse 158. It says, and whether you died or get killed, you will be assembled before God. That is, whether you are dead, or you get killed, you will still be assembled before God on the day of judgment. So whatever you decide to become, whether you think you are an angel or whatever, you still be assembled before God. Right? So let me see, what am I missing here? I'm going to answer the last question before I move on to the main questions from the audience. Let me see, what did I miss? Can jinn hurt someone? Yes, they can hurt someone. Yes, why not? A jinn can hurt you. Yes. Yes, Usman Danfodio says, MashaAllah, I'm more than happy. Quran is the best. Yes, Quran is the best. Balogu says, salam to you. Serious questions, my brother. Do you include Surah Fatiha in your salat? And does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says in Quran, tell us what to include in our daily salat? I really need this information. She says, serious question, my brother. Do you include Surah Fatiha in your salat? And does Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in Quran tell us what to include in daily salat? If you go to Quran chapter 73, verse 20, God says, فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Or he says, فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنْهُ. From the Quran, from the book. You can read whatever is easy. There is no mandation where God says, by force, you have to read Surah FATIHA before you do your Salat. No, no. Of course, Salah FATIHA is a dua, right? You can see it's a direct supplication to God. You can choose to use it, but it's not mandatory. If you don't use it, there's no way God says if you don't use Fatiha in your Salat, you are a kafir or you're going to hell. He never said that, right? But you can choose to use Fatiha. There's nothing wrong with it, right? If you don't use it as well, there's nothing wrong. You can use other chapters as well. God says, فَقْرَؤُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Read whatever is easy for you. You read it. There is no, restriction. Salam Abu Bakr Muhammad Tijani. Now that is the simplicity of the Islam God has given us in the Quran. Don't burden yourselves by things that God hasn't burdened you with, right? So now the last question I was asked this question. Somebody says, how do you pray? And I keep telling people, look, the sectarians have been programmed in such a way that when somebody says he doesn't follow their hadith, the first question they ask is, how do you pray? How do you pray? How do you pray? Last week, you guys were here. You saw how they keep asking me questions. When somebody will say, if you don't believe in the hadith, how do you pray? How do you pray? How do you pray? How do you pray? The Prophet was never asked this question in the Quran. It's an irrelevant question. It's only the stupid ones who like to ask such a question. Since when did my personal prayer, become your issue? I don't get it. How I pray to God, how did it become your issue? What you need to know is how to serve your God. Do you know God? If you don't know God, why do you want to pray? Why will you pray to a God you don't know? Why don't you get to know God first? And then you know what he asks you to do. Then you can know whether you need to pray or not. It's just simple. Why can't people get this logic? I don't understand. Right? So people will keep saying, how do you pray? How do you pray? How do you pray? Right? Okay. So when I take you to Quran chapter 19, verse 58, I'm going to show you something, but it will take those of intelligence to know what I'm talking about in this verse. So Quran chapter 19, verse 58. The verse into context is started by talking about the prophets. So it says, those are the ones whom God has guided. If you want to know those are the ones whom God has guided, start from above. It from chapter 19, verse 1 talks about the prophets, right? And also included Maryam in the list of the honorable mentions, right? And keep coming down. Then it says, those are the ones whom God has had favored among the prophets from the descendants of Adam. And then it goes ahead and it says, and of those we transported with Noah. Then it goes, and of the descendants of Abraham and Israel. Then it says, and of those we guided and chose. When the verses of the gracious were recited to them, they fell down in prostration. You can say they fell down to show their submission, right? And weeping. Now, do you see this act, this guided ones did, the prophets and these lists? Do you see what they just did? When the verses of God are recited to them, they fell down in prostration, right? Or to show their submission and weeping. Now, this act they just did, it is similarly repeated in Quran. Let me put the verse on the screen. I wasn't sharing the screen, sorry. In Quran chapter 17, this is Quran chapter 19, verse 58, right? I'm sharing the screen now. Those are the ones whom God had favored among the prophets, from the descendants of Adam, and of those we transported with Noah, and of the descendants of Abraham, Israel, and of those we guided and chose, right? When the verses of the gracious, right, were recited to them, they fell down in prostration and weeping. Now, this thing is similarly repeated in Quran chapter 17, verse 107 to 109. The act of reciting the verses to the believers, and then they fall down in prostration, showing their submission, right? And then some of them are weeping. Not, of course, not everybody doesn't. It's not a must that you have to weep, but it's the act which shows that you have submitted to what God is saying. Then verse 59. But successors, Khalifun, successors who came after this honorable mentions, this prophet, successors who came after them, this is what God says. فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ. Who are the him? This pronoun is denoting them. Them, and them is the list of those mentioned above. That's verse 58, right? In verse 58, the prophets are mentioned. So now you come to 59. God says, فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفُ أَضَاءُوا صَلَاةً. So he says, but successors who came after them lost the what? So you see the salat. So the salat being defined up there, this is what salat is. Because remember, salat, when God told Musa alayhi salam, Quran chapter 20, verse 14, he says, Innani anallah la ilaha illa ana fa'abudini wa akimi salat li zikri. So you establish the salat from the remembrance of God. So where do we get the remembrance of God? From the verses of God. وَلَقَدْ يَسَّرْنَا الْقُرْآنَ لِلْذِكْرِ فَهَلْ مِنْ مُدَّكِّرٍ. You get the zikr of God inside the Quran. So what happens is, فَخَلَفَ مِنْ بَعْدِهِمْ خَلْفُ أَضَاءُوا الصَّلَاةَ. So this salat, this concept of salat mentioned in Quran chapter 19 verse 58, this concept, these people who came after this prophet, they lost this act of salat. They lost it. Then God says, and followed desire. So these people lost the salat and followed the desires, right? Therefore, they will encounter what? Temptation or error. Gaya. Just like God says in Quran chapter 2, verse 250 says, La ikra fi din, qad tabayyana rushd min al-gayyi. So this gaya or gayyi means error or the acts of temptation, right? So this is the salat the prophets did. To get the verses of verses of God recited to you, then you show your submission. That is salat. Forget about people who keep telling you salat means this, salat means that, salat means that. You're taking your guidance from the Quran. How did the prophets and the messengers perform their salat? Is there. Quran chapter 19, verse 58. That is clear. So somebody will say, how do we have to stand? Do we have to stand like this? Do we have to stand that? It's about standing. Quran chapter 2, verse 238. Hafizu ala salawati wa salatul wusta wa kumu lillahi qanitin. You stand for God, obediently. Qanitin, obediently. Wa kumu, meaning all of you will stand. How do we stand? We saw Prophet Muhammad in Quran chapter 4, verse 102, when God told him, فَإِذَا كُنْتَ فِيهِمْ فَأَقَمْتَ لَهُمُ الصَّلَاةِ. So you establish the salat by standing, right? So standing is the first posture of showing your respect to God. That is the first posture. So now the verses of God are recited to you. Then after you show your submission by falling into prostration, right? So you go into prostration. Remember, the verses of God are recited to you, not recited to God. If you are alone, just like Zechariah did in Quran chapter 3, verse 38 to 39, you can do that by supplication, not reciting the verses to God. You recite dua, invocations to God, because you're talking to God alone at that time, just like Zechariah did. So you can call on God whilst you are standing. Then you can show your submission by falling into prostration. But when it is a group, someone has to lead the salat by reciting the verses of God to the group for them to show their submission by falling into prostration. That is in Quran chapter 4, verse 102. So salat is a simple concept. It is not something that you should be complicating your brains, trying to crack your head. Quran is a simple book. It's trying to bring you clarity. It's a kitab mubin, Quran in mubin. Read it and get the simplicity there. Don't think it's a complex thing that you have to go through some ritualistic procedure, whatever have you. Somebody will say, babashuaib, why did you do a video? I made the video to give people the basic idea. Check the video I did. I gave you references to the verses. Whatever I said, whatever I did, I gave you references from the Quran. It is not like going somewhere else to go and take my guidance. Everything I did was found in the Quran. It's just like if you are a chef and you are giving ingredients to cook. That's how knowledge works. You've been given the ingredients, you know how to join them together and get the concept, right? So I'm not saying that if somebody is doing salat and they are standing and decide to go from standing position straight to sujud, there's nothing wrong with that. If somebody is doing salat and they from the standing they go to ruku'u before they go to sujud, there's nothing wrong with that, because Quran chapter 22 verse 77 says, ya ayyuhallazina amanu araka'u wajdudu wa abdu rabbakum, right? He mentioned this procedure, chapter 22 verse 77, right? Ya ayyuhallazina amanu araka'u wajdudu wa abdu rabbakum, in the three instances. He mentioned it in the three, and then he says you have to do good as well. So it is not only limited to only any ritualistic form. The only time a ritualistic form has been mentioned is concerning your the ghusl, the washing you have to do before you go to salat. Quran chapter 5 verse 6 and Quran chapter 4 verse 43. That is a ritualistic form because you have to do that. But when it comes to the act of actually establishing the salat, there is no rule in the Quran which says when you are standing, stand like this. Or when you are doing the sujud by force, you have to put your head to the ground. Nowhere did the Quran says that. But how actually, we are just imitating what we see the prophets and the messengers do, and we can see the reasons behind it, and then it raises their humility. That is why you also do the same. That is the point. So for people who know about this, when you do your salat, you bow down or you are in sujud, you can see your humility coming towards you, between you and God. You know how it feels. We have people who just do the sujud and they are weeping, they are crying. You know how it feels because you have the spiritual connection, the bond with your maker, right? That is just the concept, right? If you don't understand something, don't pursue it. Wait till you have knowledge, then you practice it. That is the simplicity of salat. There's no concept of you have to do 5 times kabli and badi. They say you put your hand here. They say you do this and you are weeping the like you're weeping the devil. They say you do salam alaikum. You are saying salam to the angels. They say when you are doing the salat and you forget to get up, you have to do kabli. You have to do badi. No, Quran is your book of guidance. Where are you getting these jumbles of narrations from? You're stressing yourself, for God's sake. Do you see the point? Yeah. Salam as the Sikkim. Okay, so let me see. What do we have here? By the way, on Friday, I'll be having a debate dialogue with Siddiq Salis, the guy I did a rebuttal against last time. I'll be having a dialogue, a debate with him on his page, right? He said he wants to be the host. No, I said no problem. So I'll be having a dialogue and a debate with the guy, and we are going to talk about does the hadith explain the Quran? So I think I have the flyer here. Thanks to Brother Muhammad. Let me put it here. Let me open it. Do I have it here? Just a second. Yeah, so I shared a screen. You see on the screen, right? Yeah, so this is it on the page. It says, does the hadith explain the Quran? He brought the topic and I accepted it, right? Babashuaib versus Siddiq Salis. And that is on the 18th of August, right? And it will start 8 p.m. Ghana time. And then my time in Finland will be 11 p.m., right? On that is 2300. So we are going to discuss. It's a 2 hours program, right? He wants to be the host. I said no problem, and then we proposed that we can do it 2 times. Like he hosts me and I will host him. Then the second one we'll be talking about the guidance, the source of guidance. Is it the Quran or is it the Hadith? So that's the second dialogue. But the first dialogue, of course, I know. God willing, he's going to make a fool of himself, right? So you keep your fingers crossed and enjoy the show, inshallah. So this is Sadiq Salis. We'll be having this dialogue slash debate on Friday. So make it a time. On Friday, I'll be sharing the link because it's via StreamYard. So I'll share the link to you, the viewers, and then you get to access, I think, both on YouTube and Facebook, right? So we will be streaming live, inshallah. So before that, I will do a test transmission with him, and then I'll make sure everything is okay before we go live. So in case his network is not good enough, I will be the host, then he will join. But if his network is good to host, then fine, we will do it, and I'll share the link on my pages where you can watch the live stream, right? And I will be giving the brochure, and I'll be giving you the rules and regulations we put in between before we have the discussion. And there will be a timer. For example, I show you something. There will be a timer on the screen, for instance, something of this sort. Right? It will be something of this sort. So let's say if he is talking, right? If he is talking, this is what I'll do. So there will be like a timer like this. So if we set the time and I say, hey, we have 5 minutes, or you have 5 minutes to explain this, the timer will be on the board. Everybody will get to see it. So it will not be like there's a bias or somebody trying to lie and say, oh, my time is not up. No. As soon as the person is ready to start giving answers, we put it and say, well, time is up. Go. Right? So if you are going 10 minutes, we are going 15 minutes, we are going 20 minutes, I'll put the timer on the board. And also, we'll be sharing the rules and regulations to the viewers, and you guys will get to know what we have agreed, so that in case that somebody is going off topic, somebody is going off the way, the audience will already know who is being, unjust. You do get the point. So this is the idea, and I think it will be a first time such interaction will be done in this way, so that subsequently other people can take that mantle and also follow in the same procedure to have easy to one-on-one dialogue without actually having a mediator, because we are thinking of getting a mediator, but sometimes it's difficult to have the just people to be in between. And that is why we came by this concept, right? Salam Malik Yakub. Abdurrahim Ismail says, funny, how do you go to ruku? Can you, my phone number is here. Abdurrahim, can you call? The phone number is here. Can you call on my WhatsApp? And be a man, ask me this question. Before you ask me this question, kindly show me yours and prove to me where it asks you to do your ruku first. I will explain to you, don't worry. He says, where do you get explanation of Quran verses you are quoting? I got them in the library. These mushriks and their stupid questions. I don't get how their logic works. Huh? Prince Abdugani says, Ali Sunnah are very lazy. They are, yes. Abubakar Muhammad Tijani says, we did your back. I appreciate that. Barry G says, keep up the good work. I appreciate that. Thank you. So Balogun says, Salam Baba, how about the notion of physically challenged people sitting and observing Salat? Is there clarification about that in the Quran? And that is why always there's an exception. For instance, God says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu iza kuntum ila salat fagusuluhum wujuhakum wa aydiyakum ila al-marafiq. So now God says we should wash our hands to our elbows. What if somebody doesn't have the hands and the elbows? Do you understand? That's an exception. God wouldn't punish you because you don't have hands to the elbows. You are exempted from that. You understand? So those who are physically challenged, they have no blame for this instances. Nowhere will God say, okay, because you are physically challenged, I'm taking you to hell because you couldn't stand to call on me or do this. No, there's nothing wrong with that. If there's any problem, God will have instructed that in the Quran. Yes, she said, thank you so much for clearing this up. As a revert for over 30 years, this really was confusing me as I was caught up with the rituals, how I stood, how I recited, how I may have missed things out. It took me away from my pleasures of worshiping God in the best manner for myself until I learned that hadiths were just that, as fabrications and lies. Yes, they are lies. Yes. I only ever followed the Quran, but was fool to think I needed hadith to pray. That's what they will tell you. They will say that hadith teaches you how to pray. You are a mushrik if you follow the hadith to learn how to pray, because whatever you do in the hadith is full of shirk. I'm telling you for a fact. I've been there before. I was once a mushrik like them. Yes. So be careful. Brother Tahir Daily says, Salam, brother. I came across someone quoting Surah 46:9. 7188, and stating that Muhammad clearly wasn't certain of his salvation and ours. The person continued to say that Allah said he would punish him if he wouldn't follow the Quran. 10:15. Can you please help with more clarity, inshallah? Thanks. Okay, let's deal with that part. Even though I'm almost 2 hours, so I'll be coming to an end soon. And for those on TikTok, I'll be coming to your point. Sarah Slay says the emotional guy. Yes, the guy who said I feel like crying. Yeah, I'm going to deal with him. Like, I want to seal the argument with him once and for all. Anyways, let me deal with the question was chapter 46, verse 9. So I shared a screen. Yes, somebody is saying that Salah mean the remembrance of God. Yes, Quran chapter 20, verse 14, where God told Musa alayhi salam, he says, indeed, I am God. There is no God. Innani anallah la ilaha illa ana. There is no God but me. Then he says, fa'abuduni, that is serve me, worship me. Wa akimi salat, and establish the salat, lizikiri, for my remembrance. So salat is equal to the remembrance of God, right? Yeah. So then the person says, if so, why the need for any rituals at all? The rituals come in the form of, for instance, the ghusl. If you don't do the washing before approaching the salat, that in its essence is your salat is void. So that alone makes it a ritual, because you have to do the washing before approaching the salat. So number one, let's see the notion of ritual. Now, for people who are watching and you have no idea why the form of ritual exists in the Quran, let's see how it is. So when we say, I put this here. Yeah. So meaning number one, and I put meaning number two. So I share the screen, then you get to see here. So let's understand why ritual. Where is the concept of ritual emanating from? And which aspect of the salat is a ritualistic form? So not salat in general, the things you do in your salat in general doesn't denote rituals. But where did the people get the concept of actually saying that there's a form of ritual in the Quran? So let's go and see. So here, yeah. Oh, sorry, I have to use the bigger form. Where is this? Is it this? Which one is it? Yeah, I can use this one. So when we say ritual, any customary observance or practice, or the prescribed procedure for conducting religious ceremonies, right, is classified as ritual. Now, when it comes to salat, Quran chapter 5, verse 6, right, I write it here. In Quran chapter 5, verse 6, where God says, Ya ayyuhallazina amanu iza kuntum ila salat faghsilu wujuhakum wa aydiyakum ila al-marafiq wa umsahu bi ru'usikum wa arjulakum ila al-ka'bayn. Right? Now, Ritual is any customary observance or practice. The act of washing before Salat is a practice. The act of washing before Salat is an observance. You have to observe it before you go to Salat, or your Salat is void, or you don't have any Salat. So that coming in between you and the Salat makes it ritual, right? It's an observance. You have to observe that before you go for the Salat, because it's an instruction from God. Quran chapter 5, verse 6, right? And also when you are intoxicated or when you are unclean, you cannot approach the Salat. That on its own makes it a ritual, right? Okay. But when we are talking about ritual, are we talking about ritual in the sense of what the mainstream Muslims are doing, like the hadith people telling you do it this way, do it this way, mandatory? Not in that sense we are talking about. No. There's a way big difference in the act of ritual we are talking about. When we talk about salat, the ghusl, the washing you have to do before you approach, that is a ritual. Then when you go to the salat by its definition, because it's a customary observance, because it's a prescribed procedure as we conduct it in a religious ceremony, because you have to do it daily. You do it in the morning at dawn, and you do it in the evening, Isha, and then you can do it in the night, right? Now, because it's put down like that, that as a procedure become a customary procedure, which is a ritual. Somebody will say, okay, what happens if I decide not to do salat for 1 week? Can I do it next week and leave it this week? That is not the point, because God wants you to do it constantly, right? It's a constant thing you have to do. And that is where the definition of ritual comes in. But it's not ritual in the sense of somebody saying, is it mandatory for me to stand and do salat? No, it's not mandatory. The reason is, if you take Quran chapter 2, verse 238, and you read up to 2, verse 239, you will see that God is saying, if you are in fear, وَإِنْ خِفْتُمْ فَرِجَالًا أَوْ رُكْبَانًا, if you are in fear, you can do salat whilst you are walking or whilst you are riding. So if you are walking, do you have to stand? No. If you are riding, are you standing? No. Okay. If you are walking, are you going to do ruku? No. If you are riding, are you going to do ruku? No. If you are walking, are you going to do sujud? No. If you are riding, are you going to do sujud? No. So here, it shows you that it is only when you are safe, then you can remember God as he has taught you, which by the examples of the prophets and the messengers, right? But to say mandatory, the procedure is you have to do this and go do sujud, and by force, if you don't do it, God is not going to accept. No, there's nowhere God says by force you have to do it in that way. You are only imitating what the prophets and the messengers have done. That is the procedure we are following. But it is not mandatory to say anybody who does salat and he doesn't stand, the salat is void. Nowhere God says that. Or anybody who does salat and doesn't do sujud, the salat is void. God never said that. Do you get my point? But in the notion of washing before approaching the salat, that is a ritualistic form. Because the question is, can I approach salat without that? The answer is no. So I have to do it. That makes it a ritual. Then the salat itself, did it start with you? No, it's a customary observance. The prophets have done it. The messengers have done it. It's passing on to you. You have to also carry the mantle and keep it going. That also makes it a ritual. But the things we do in the salat itself, is it fixed? Does he have to do that every day? I have to recite Fatiha. No, God never said that. Does he have to do that every day? I have to hold my hands like this. No, God never said that. Does he have to do that if I'm standing? Is it a must to do ruku before sujud? No, God never said that. I can choose to stand and I go sujud direct. I can choose to stand and I'm standing for hours. Then only God knows how I want to end that salat. You understand? So far as is in accordance with the principles you find in the Quran, that is what we are talking about. But we are not saying it is a ritual in the sense of the way the hadithiyus are doing, right? Then they will start, recite Fatiha, they will do it silently, they will do it like this, and then they will do, you have to do salam, you have to do salam. This is what they call as a ritual. So that we don't agree with them. No, that is the difference. So let's go back to the question the brother asked me. I go back to Quran chapter 46, verse 9, before I come to an end, right? The brother was asking a question. He says, some people quote, many a times I've seen Christians quoting this verse, right? They quote this verse and they try to say that the messenger has no idea what will happen to him. How can you follow such a misguided person? They seem to take the verse out of context. Everything goes with context, the subject and the context. Understand how the context is structured. Messenger was asked, say, I am not an innovation, or we can say, I am not original among the messengers. But the context is, he is not an innovation. He is not invented messenger or something of, bid'ah. I am not an innovation among the messengers. Neither do I know what will be done to me. He doesn't know what will be done to him, nor to you. Now, he's not talking about the day of judgment. This is the concept people don't understand. And I'll connect the dots with another chapter to understand, because the Quran explains itself. So neither do I know what will be done to me, meaning he doesn't know what will happen to him right now. He is not God. Only God knows everything. You are just a human being, a vessel. God is using you for something. It doesn't mean he knows the future. Muhammad on his own doesn't know the future. It's only by what God inspires to him. So the answer is clear in the verse. Neither do I know what will be done to me, nor to you. I, Muhammad, as a messenger, I only follow what is inspired to me, and I am only a clear warner. So in the context of what he's talking about, meaning he of himself doesn't know what will be done to him or to you. So he has to rely on an inspiration, for the inspiration to tell him what is next, what will happen. Then he can warn you. That's the idea. So he of himself has nothing to do to give you. He of himself cannot know what is going to happen to you. That is the instance. It depends on the perspective you are looking at it from. And that is why many a times, me, babashuaib, when somebody comes to question me, I try to know where their perspective and where they are coming from. I want to know if you are a sectarian. I want to know if you are a Christian. I want to know if you are agnostic. I want to know if you are a believer. I want to know whatever you are. It helps for me to understand your perspective. Do you see the point? So it's about angle and where you are looking at things from, the angle you are checking from. That is what decides the issue here. Again, we go to Quran chapter 7, verse 188. So in Quran chapter 7, verse 188, oh, what happened here? Yeah. Quran chapter 7, verse 188, say, I do not control for myself any benefit nor harm. So this is why he said he doesn't know what will be done to him. He is not God. He's just a messenger who doesn't know something unless God revealed to him. So he doesn't know anything, or he cannot control anything by himself from God. How can he control that? So he cannot control any benefit nor harm except what God wills. So if he's a messenger and God says this thing will happen to you, that is, so be it. And if I was aware of the unseen, so here Muhammad is going to tell you, had he been aware of any of the unseen, this is what he would have done. I would have increased in welfare. He will increase for himself in wealth, meaning he will have a lot of money. And no evil will have touched me. Meaning, if he knows the gaib, he knows what is coming, no evil will touch him. In Ghana, for those who are watching me, especially the Akan people, there's a saying they say, "Nka unim adia efri suruba, nka ushed adieche." If you know what is coming from above, you'll be wearing a metal cap. That tells you here, if Muhammad knows what is ahead, no evil will touch him. And he says, and no evil will have touched me. I am only a what? A warner and a herald to a people who believe. That is the concept of 46 verse 9 and then 7 verse 188. In that context, it doesn't mean Muhammad has no idea what is happening. The point is, he only knows if God gives him that understanding or the knowledge. But he of himself doesn't know anything. What did Jesus say? I of myself cannot do anything, but the will of God is what he does. So why are the Christians or agnostic trying to make things difficult? Try to understand with wisdom Stop trying to concoct any misunderstandings in your faith. Try to understand things as it's meant to be understood. Thank you very much, Bilal Jibril. So, ladies and gentlemen, I've done 2 hours. Brother Tahir, daily contemplation. I don't know if this is clear enough for you. I hope so. God willing, it's clear enough for you. Uh, I've done 2 hours, 10 minutes. I think I have to bring the topic to an end. So you have to anticipate on Friday night, same time as I did my lectures today. Anticipate there will be a live dialogue slash debate between me and Sadiq Salis, right? He says, does the Quran explain, does the Hadith explain the Quran? It's a question. So we are going to find out if he is going to use the Hadith to explain the Quran. And he has to explain the 5 daily prayers the Hadith went to collect. He has to show in which verse of the Quran that one is explaining the verse. We are going to see. He's going to explain all the jumbles of the Hadith where they say the goat ate the verses, and then he has to explain where the breastfeeding of 10 men, where the he will explain which verse of the Quran all these ones explain, right? So God willing, we get to see what will happen on that day, and then we see how these people will make a mockery of themselves, inshallah. So, ladies and gentlemen, this is the correctional officer question and answer section, and I'm coming to an end. I apologize to all those who have not seen your message or your question, and hopefully, inshallah, next week I'll be able to address all your points. And I don't know, after Friday, the program, I might be going on Saturday to this live radio. I was on a radio TV last time, right? Based in Finland here. I was invited as a guest to host a program. So I was there to do a program, and I think I might be there again this coming Saturday. But let's see what happens. And also, I have this affiliation networking scheme that I've been sharing on my YouTube page, right? It is not a scam. I have not been hacked, right? I do share them on my community section where I post this. It's just an affiliation networking thing that normally you get offers, you get discounts when you try to buy something. It comes with a coupon, right? It's a valid link, it's a valid website. Many people are thinking I've been hacked or something. No, I was not hacked. I know sometimes it looks suspicious when you see such things, but they are tangible links, official links affiliated with babashuaib. So there's nothing illegal about it. So if you see it, you can look it up, check it. The links are not a fraud. You can check it up. If you are interested in getting any softwares or anything that will be beneficial to you, kindly check it up and see for yourself. Then you can get the right discounts for anything you want. So that is why I share it on that platform. I do share it also on my Facebook. For people who have seen my recent sharing, it has nothing to do with hacking. Nobody has hacked my page. Barbershop's page is intact, right? I don't use my pages to go and click unnecessary links or some things people send. So I'm intact. Don't worry about that. But then, yes, those links are solid, they are tangible, the sources are authentic, they are affiliated with a brand, and it's not illegal or doing anything fishy. So don't have any doubt. Ladies and gentlemen, this is the correctional officer. I have to bring this topic to an end. I'm getting exhausted. I need to get some food to eat. Can divining arrows in 5-3 also be classified as rock, paper, scissors? Yeah, divination arrows, it is something you try to put just to divine into that's the future or something. You know, sometimes people will take the spade, the card, like, and then they try to say they are talking to the guardian angels or something. They try to do their divination arrows. Those are the things God is forbidding, right? Those things, they are lying to you most of the times, and it has to do with the devil as well. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all for your presence. I appreciate that. I see Nara Power, I see you, Balogun, Bari Bari Baba Sidu, Tahir Deli, Bilal Jibril. You see, we have, let me see, Dana, Nibrona, Abdurrahim. Yeah, I see you all. Thank you all for coming. Prince Abdi Gani, Thank you all once again. I appreciate your presence. And we see Abdul Samad. I see you, Sarah Slayers. I see Afalata Kilo. I see you, Seven Layers. I see you. For those who are on TikTok, Malik Yakub. Thank you all for being present. I appreciate your presence. For those on Facebook, for those on YouTube, thank you all for keeping up and then getting the share of the knowledge we get from the Quran. So hopefully we get to see you again during the week. Friday is a debate and a dialogue. The link will be shared as respectfully you get access to it. And then Saturday I'll be doing a live program on JC Radio TV, God willing. So Ibrahim, I see you. What is it? Hmm. Yeah, Amr Mo. Thank you all. So, ladies and gentlemen, peace be upon you all. Till we meet again, inshallah. Correctional officer is out, right?